have with us Conner Moyer. Am I saying that right?
You got it.
That's rare that I would get that right. That's good. Conner's been sitting here quietly. He is the president of SMRT Solutions Group. Conner, my friend, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Excited to get going.
So what is SMRT Solutions Group all about?
We focus in sales, management, recruiting, and training, which SMRT, acronym for SMART, just drop the A. And our company takes
Where'd the A go?
I just left it off. We didn't need the A.
So smart, they don't need the A.
That's right. People know.
I love asking this question. Now you don't got to go back to 1962, but kind of give me an idea of your background, right? Because I doubt you woke up on a Tuesday and said, "Hey, I want to get into marketing." So walk me through how we got here.
Far from it. Yeah. I wasn't born in '62, nor is I anywhere close, so I can defer those years to you. But I started off actually as a coach back in the day. I graduated college and then figured I was going to go on to get a job. I always said two things: I'm never going back to school, and I'm never going to teach. And sure enough, I was back in school and I was teaching. So never say never, because that one bit me pretty hard. And I was glad I did it because I was able to find my passion early on. And I started off as a volunteer coach, coached football, strength conditioning coach for a while. Did that for about 5 years, and then got wrapped up into teaching as well the 2 years towards the tail end of that. And moved on to corporate. Decided I wanted to just make some money. And where I was at in Memphis, money was not found in the education world, and so decided
it's not found unless you get to
Right.
higher education.
Yes. Yeah. And out of college, as a teacher, that wasn't quite the path for me. So I decided to move on into the corporate world. So I did that, climbed the corporate ladder. I worked for 4 or 5 different companies across all different functions. I've been in operations, manufacturing, warehousing. I've been in sales for a few different industries. And then this past year is really where this whole idea came into play. I went back to coaching again. I had a 7-year void of coaching. During the corporate world, obviously it's hard to find time.
It gets in your blood.
It does. It sinks its teeth in and doesn't let you go. And I felt that. And so I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. So I reverted back to exactly what I normally do. I called a local high school. I'm down at Ardrey Kell, actually, as a volunteer assistant coach down there. And was lucky and fortunate that they brought me on board. So I'm helping out down there. And because of that, it gave me a little bit of perspective. So now that I've come back to coaching, with the business background I have now, it allowed me to pair the two. And what I started to realize is how many synergies there were between the athletic world and the business world. And they marry in so many different ways that it's perfect. And it took me a while to realize that because, of course, the first time going around, I was just out of college. I had no idea. Of course, you learn things in college, but unless you've done it, you don't know. And so it gave me a perspective that was different than what I had before.
And so I read a little bit of your website, and you talk about this, right? That you try and help clients apply some of the methodology, systems, and processes of team sports into their marketing solutions. Talk a little bit about that.
That's right. That's exactly right. So what we do is...
Exactly. That's a thing we do, Conner, whenever you say exactly.
Love that.
You do kind of.
He stepped in it. Yeah. He stepped in it.
So what we do is, if you look at every successful dynasty in sports, I don't care who you look at, hate him or love him, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, John Wooden back in the day, what Kirby Smart's doing in Georgia right now. If you look at every dynasty that is coming across in the sports world, they have a blueprint on what works. They've found a playbook, if you will, on the way that they train their people, the way they develop their people, the way they go to business every day, or on the field, right, and not in the business sense, but they found a method that works. And there's a lot of different nuances that go into that, and it's tough. And what we do is we take the same principles that make those dynasties, and we take those into the business world and directly translate them. So we actually work with sales teams, we work with management teams, we do training, we do workshops, and we also do recruiting. So bringing in, I equate this to the NFL draft. You've got to take chances on younger players. And this is one topic that hits pretty close to home because in business, and just you and I talking earlier, a lot of people don't like taking chances on younger people. You don't, it's an entry-level job. Well, we need 7 years of experience. Like, we're going to find that.
Right.
Yeah. And by 7 years, who wants the entry-level job?
Right.
So that's the tough part. So if you look at the way that the NFL and the NBA have done this, they use the NFL draft and the NBA draft, and you're quite literally taking a chance on somebody that has no professional experience, and you're putting them in that setting. They have a training ground, obviously, in collegiate sports, but you're taking a chance on them to help build your franchise, build your dynasty. It's the same concept. And there are rising stars that are going to be excellent in the business world that people shy away from. And so we help on the recruiting side too, help you bridge the gap between more specifically athletes, getting them into spots that we know that they're going to go in and excel in. So we focus on that as well in the recruiting side.
And is it mainly sales related positions that you help with?
Generally, yeah. And
you know, I'll tell you something. I deal a lot with small business owners, and this is an area a lot of small business owners hate. Like they don't want to deal. Well, they don't want to deal with the salesperson, right? You know, we're kind of touchy. You know, if you can't tell, we're a little peculiar. Yeah. And it's difficult to work with certain good quality salespeople. So I can see how this being able to outsource this would be very helpful to some small business people.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of people that you said this this feedback I get all the time. A lot of business owners don't want to do the sales part.
That's right.
There's a difference in the transition between a founder-led sales team, which is typically a small business. You're the founder and the owner of the company. You're driving all the influx of business, and there becomes a time where you need a sales force. You need salespeople. You need other people in your organizations. That's the transition that's really hard for people to deal with, because now you've got to shift your mindset. Now you've got to work as a team. You've got to use your whatever people you have on your bench. You've got to bring those off the bench, and you've got to let them go. And that's what we help bridge the gap with.
And you train them.
We do. We train them.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, we're hands on. Yeah. We're hands on. We do everything. If you look at a practice, you know, and I'll just use our football team as an example. Almost every day we run through a team activity where it's offense versus defense. We're running plays that we would run in games normally. It's the same thing in sales. We're going to sit down with you. We're going to go and either be on the call with you, or we're going to listen, and we're going to give you feedback afterwards. Hey, here's what you said this time, and exactly like we do on the field. There's no difference. We watch a player run a route. We go back. We coach him on what he could have done better, or we give him positive feedback if it was great. It's the exact same thing in the sales world. We take the same approach.
Because, Joe, what don't you have as a business owner, entrepreneur? A lot of time.
That's right.
So they take it, you know, for that business owner not to have to train that sales team and they be efficient and on point. That's priceless.
It is. And I'll tell you this, the hard part for people to decouple is letting go of the fact that you got to realize before you go down this road that your time as an owner is most likely spent better in different areas than spending one-on-one time with somebody every day.
And what you're describing is you're not only training, but you're training them in an area specific, in a system specifically designed for their business, right? Yes. So you've got the skill set to figure that system and process out. Then you will help them find and train the salespeople moving forward and perfect it and make sure it's actually working. That does have a great deal of value.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, we've helped a lot of customers so far with that.
Okay, we're going to go take a break. When we come back, I'm going to call bull on that, and I'm going to challenge you.
I love it.
Let's see if you can pass the test. You already know I'm going to fail that test. Right? You know that. He's got us already. You already know that.
Right?
You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, and I am here with Conner Moyer.
That's right.
I can't believe I'm getting that right.
2 for 2.
SMRT Solutions Group. Smart without the A.
There you go.
We'll be right back.
Where your business matters.
Yeah.
Keep it right here. Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone will return after this short break on 105.9, 100.7.
So when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about how to help small business perfect what they're looking for. You need me for something? Well, not. I was trying to ignore you. Okay.
What's it going to get him?
At the other studio, the board operator literally sat right next to me. It was an old 75-year-old, and I would pick on him all the time. And my nephew, who graduated from Western Carolina as a communications guy, had to run the board during his what is that? What the kids have to go through?
Like an internship.
Yeah, and he hated it. Just hated it. He begged the owner, "Do I really have to do Joe's show?"
That's awesome.
Wilton is the only board operator in 11 years that could care less if I pick on him or not.
Wilson don't pay you any attention. Wilson
He just paid me no never mind. That's the problem.
listen, that's it. He pays you not.
He paid me no never mind.
He's got the right mentality for it. That's awesome.
Wilson has a baby on the way, which is so exciting.
Downtown Statesville welcomes live music this weekend. On Friday, Wine Maestro.
All right, we got Joe Buck in the house.
Wicker at 7 p.m.
Buck or Burke?
Sports Bar presents Bryce Reese at
Go, Joe.
8 p.m. Visit
How you say your last name?
Statesville Friday night for live
Berg.
music, wine
With a G.
and
Berg.
Like
Burger.
iceberg,
The Kane Center
Berg.
for the Arts.
Hamburg.
Week 4 of summer camps begin
Okay.
Monday, July 8th, morning and afternoon.
Nobody likes Joe either. He ain't got no friends either.
Drawing, art, food,
Oh, that is so funny.
I must.
I don't need friends.
He has the sports.
comedian Tom Cotter. For more information
Yeah,
on
Joe's a
results
sports
and
guy.
asphalt
Yes, he told me his show come on after
Joe,
this, right?
I'm
Yeah.
on.
Joe would be good
Right after.
if he just cut his hair.
Do you need it? Is that why?
That's his signature. His
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. I just haven't done it.
Yeah.
You ought to see him when he take that bun out. It go flying.
Does it?
Yeah, I got curly.
I mean, it flies.
So do you wear it
Oh,
out
yeah.
sometimes?
What?
Do you wear it out during the show sometimes?
I used to.
community and much more, including
It's
amazing
a-
deals.
Are you gonna cut it? All of it?
Look at all that. Look at all that.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
look
at all the
wow.
flowing
It's
mane.
Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone
Some women would be
on
jealous over
105.9,
you.
100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the #1 live business show in North Carolina, home of Burner Cigar Studio. You are listening to Salonia, co-owner of Progressive Business Finance, and also Conner Moyer. He is the president of SMRT Solutions Group. That is smart without the A. Conner, thank you for being here, buddy. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So I was picking on you, but before the break. But let's talk about this because it's not easy to design something. I mean, you can compare yourself if you want to, right? To some of the finest coaches in the world, but they've had years, in some cases, generations to perfect what they do, right? If I call you, you got to start from scratch in some cases, right? So how do you do that? How do you, in a reasonable period of time, put together processes and systems that we know will be helpful to a sales, to a growing or in some cases creating a new sales force? Did I ask the question correctly? You get where I'm headed here?
Absolutely. Here's what we do that's a little bit different. First and foremost, we don't reinvent the wheel. As I'm talking about these other dynasties, we take some of the same concepts that create that winning organization and we move those straight over. Obviously, we have some stuff internal that's ours and that we use based on our experiences. In my board, I've got a board of advisors that has over 150 years of experience in sales and management, leadership. They've been CSOs, CXOs, VPs, executive VPs. So we've got a lot of people with certainly more knowledge even than I do in this matter. But the big thing is when we're looking at businesses that, as you talk about starting from scratch, we narrow it down in a couple different buckets. So we start off with the conceptual bucket, which is the high level vision. Where are we going? What do we want to do? What is the voice of our company? What are we trying to get after? We move to the strategical bucket. The strategic bucket is more the initiatives on strategically, how are we going to make those concepts happen? What do we need to do? And then we go to tactical. So we have this system, and the tactical is everything from every little detail that needs to happen in order to execute on those strategic initiatives. So if you think about this, again, I'll relate it back to sports sense, given that's the whole really the message of our company. As a sports team, you've got to define your team's identity. If you're a football team, are you going to be a hard-nosed, run it down the middle type of team? Are you going to be a West Coast offense where you're throwing the ball over the place? What is your team identity? Strategically, what plays do we need to do in order to make that happen? How are we going to actually go about making that happen? And then tactically, what personnel do we need on the field? How are we going to run the routes? What's the playbook going to look like? That's just a quick example on how we take the same things that a winning coach and a dynasty is going to do and apply it in the business world. So yeah, you're right. On occasion, there are some clients that come to us with some industries that are slightly outside of what we do. We really focus on a few industries, and we can help about anybody.
And you know what I love about that is that a lot of business owners don't know who they are. They're a business themselves. So in order to come to you, they have to know. And so that helps them, like you said, come into themselves as business owners. Because in order for you to be successful, a lot of business owners think that they have to do a lot. But you just need one real big specialty that you do that you can offer, and people love you for that. You don't have to do everything.
That's right.
But a lot of business owners don't know who they are in the business. They just want to do what they want to do. But who are you? What makes you different? Why would I want you? And so to come to you and work for you, to work with you, they have to know that. And it helps them learn about themselves.
So really what you're saying is just a meeting with him alone kind of gets them in the right mindset and in the right direction that they may not be at.
Because they can't work with him if they don't know what they need from him.
Right.
So you have to know who you are. How can we work with you? What strategic plan or tactics do we need to put into place to make your vision come to life?
So Conner, I hear you describing sort of a fractional sales manager type of concept. Am I hitting that right? Because you haven't actually used those words, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm trying to get a real understanding of what you find yourself being good at.
So here's what we do. We operate a few different ways. On the training front, and as well as the management front, we do have a fractional aspect, which makes us a little bit unique. A lot of companies today, and a lot of, I would say, medium to large businesses, maybe not so much small, but medium to large businesses, they have an entire team or at least a person or two dedicated to the learning and development, the training that goes into programs. The problem is there are a lot of those companies that are seeing, so look at the recent rounds of layoffs. They were almost always in the first round of cuts. Your sales trainers, all that,
Right.
because they're not a direct revenue add. So people immediately think, oh, we got to get rid of them. Well, now you're left with a complete hole in your sales team because they're not receiving the feedback and coaching that they need to succeed. So what happens? Your revenue numbers drop.
Because not everybody's a Joe.
That's right.
Joe is unique.
One
Not
moment.
everybody's a Joe.
Not every salesman you have is a Joe. You
That's
understand?
right.
You like that, didn't you? So, walk me through what a good client profile would look like. Like if there's a business person out there listening, they're not sure whether they're a good fit for you or not. Kind of walk me through what a buyer profile would look like for you.
So let me start before I outline exactly what the buyer profile looks like. Let me start with the way we talk to these people and the way we engage with them initially, because I think that sets some context. When we start out, we actually start with an assessment. We usually go and we do a go-to-market assessment, which is pretty much your entire commercial side of your business. And that starts with things we were talking about earlier, like your vision, your idea, who you are as a company. And we move all the way through. And we start with that kind of stuff, and we come out with a scorecard. And it's not going to be like, 20% F. Like it's red, yellow, green. We're just letting
Right.
you know, hey, there's some gaps here. You're okay here, and you're great here. We come out with that assessment because it allows us to give upfront whether or not it's a good fit for both our business and for theirs. It needs to go both ways. And so that's an important step that we take, that we make sure that we're not here to work with everyone under the sun. We're here to work with the people that are going to value or benefit from what we provide.
And it sounds like you're really kind of practicing what you preach, because that's what you're going to teach us small business people.
That's right.
Dude, you can't do it all. You got to
Can't do
figure
it
it
all.
out.
That's exactly right.
Because even Joe, right? I stay focused on small businesses, 5 million or less.
You can't do it all?
I can't do it all.
I thought you
can't do
did it all.
No, I mean, there's very few Sammys in the world. Joe is not a Sammy. Okay, so I got that. I see where that goes. So is there a size or a type of industry or a client profile that if they're listening, you're saying, hey, I think in general I probably can help you because we've done a lot of that.
Yeah, the main profiles we work with, we've actually worked with everyone from startup founders all the way up to large corporations. Now, that's a big bucket, obviously, but with the offerings we have, it really depends on the right fit. Some people just want sales training. Some people want a complete go-to-market strategy analysis, and that's obviously a lot more in depth. That's a little bit more founder focused, a little bit more small business focused. We work with a lot of people that are in supply chain, manufacturing, anything with tech, SaaS, and sports. when I say sports, that can be we've had a few meetings with some NFL teams recently, some NHL teams, and are engaging with those crowds on ticket sales and some other things that we're doing, as well as sports tech. So if you think of all like the wearables and all those kind of companies that have roots in sports, because it obviously the message translates directly to that audience, and a lot of times the people you get are already in that field to some extent. So that's really the main people we work with.
Do you also get into all of the different aspects of marketing? You know, it is the world is changing faster than I can talk through a show, you know, with digital marketing and that sort of stuff. Do you engage in all of those areas at the same time? Because you know, a sales force is almost becoming old school conversation, right? You know, can you talk a little bit about the combination of both of those?
Yeah, and it depends. The old school sales approach is, I would say, old school for lower ticket items. For something that's a subscription model, for something you can go online and click and just say, hey, I want to buy this software or stuff like that. For a lot of the bigger stuff, it's not. For a lot of bigger stuff, it's still relationships.
Good, because I was afraid Joe was getting obsolete.
Yeah.
Not quite, Joe.
So you're saying
You got a few more years.
so a higher end ticket still requires the relationship and the knock on the door sales technique.
It does, because they've got to trust you. They've got to believe
Yeah.
in you as a person, and oftentimes it's not necessarily just the product. So in some of the supply chain jobs I work with, selling multi-million-dollar warehouse and freight deals, some hundreds of millions, and working with those type of buyers. Sometimes the deal is lost because of the salesperson, not because of the product. The product can be very similar. At the end of the day, warehouse to warehouse, rates are going to be similar depending on the company. At the end of the day, it's the person that they trust, the person that they've done business with, and they feel like is a good person to work with, that company can represent and support.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. So to a point, yes, the online marketing stuff is becoming a huge deal for that sort of product. For a smaller, I would still say bigger ticket items is a very hands-on sales approach. But we do help with all that too.
So we've only got about a minute and a half or so. If somebody wanted to reach you, how could they reach you?
Yeah, so a couple different ways. The first one's a website, SMRT, smartsolutionsgroup.com. You can also reach me by email, and it's Conner, CONNER, at smartsolutionsgroup.com. And you can also reach me by cell phone, 901-387-9253.
And again, smart is with no A.
That's correct.
We're still looking for the A.
Yep.
I go to your website and I notice you have workshops and seminars. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And do you have any coming up?
Yeah, the workshops and seminars are great. It's a big hit. It's a really great way for a client to more or less try us if they want to. So instead of the fractional approach where we're with you for 30 days or however long that is, a workshop can be anywhere from 1 to 3 days. It can be a quick refresher for a sales team. It can be reinforcing concepts. And again, based on the things that we implement that a lot of other companies and trainers have not done, it exposes them to new creative ways to think and solicit sales and come back with revenue.
You are listening to Conner Moyer. He's the president of SMRT Solutions Group without the A, SMRT Solutions Group. Conner, thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.